Hi there. Today I want to show you two ways to practice sewing straight lines. And for this, we actually don't need any thread in our machine. So I'm going to take out my bobbin thread, which is down here. I'm just going to pull out my bobbin and put my case back in there empty. Set my bobbin to the side. I'm going to unthread the top of the needle, pull all my thread back up to the spool, and then I'm going to take a piece of regular lined notebook paper and I'm going to sew right along these lines on this notebook paper. There's no thread, but you'll still be able to see where you sewed because it's going to punch holes in the paper. So I'm going to make sure that my needle is in the center of my foot, and I'm just going to follow along these lines. Now, for beginners, oftentimes they have trouble with going from 0 to really fast. So something that can help with that, when you start to sew, push on the pedal until you hear almost like a humming noise, and that's the motor getting ready to start going. So we're going to push, see if you can hear it here, so you can just hear that hum. No hum? Hum. Okay, and then you push just a little bit further and it's going to start stitching. And our goal is going to be to stay right on that line. Now I want to show you kind of how this works. So sometimes you can get a guide and stick it next to your, like there's magnetic guides that you can put next to your paper to help you stay where you want to be. The problem with that is that where your needle goes into the paper or your fabric isn't based on what's happening here. It's based on what's happening with your fabric out here. So I'm going to put my guide out here and I want you to watch what happens. So I'm going to keep my paper along the edge of my guide out here, and it's going to keep it where I want it to go. But if I pull my paper this way by accident, it's going to go off of my line. To correct that, I have to pull my paper back this way. Okay, but now my guide is in the way. And so that can be problematic. So people tend to put the guide here, but what you need to understand is that anything that happens here at the needle starts out here. So we're stitching along. You can go as slow as you want. The goal is to stay in a straight line. Okay, so I'm going to show that again. So here you can see this is where I came off, and I was showing you where the paper tipped. Okay, your goal is to stay right on that line and go down. Again, as I'm sewing, if I tip my paper this way, then my needle is going to come to the left of my line. If I tip my paper this way, it's going to cross over, it's going to go to the right of my line. Okay, usually when we're sewing and we go off of from our seam allowance, it's not that dramatic that quick. It's usually little things. I'm not paying super close attention to where I'm at here or here, and so I go off just a little bit and I start and I just stay off at an angle, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh no, I'm off course, and so I quick go like this, and then you get these big jumps. That's what we're trying to avoid. So just take your notebook paper and just practice trying to go and stay on those nice straight lines. Notice I'm holding back here. I'm not holding up here. I'm not holding back here. My hands are always in front of the needle. And I'm going to go all the way to the end. And your goal is to have nice straight lines all the way across on top of that line. Okay, once you have that down and you've mastered that, you can take just a plain piece of paper. This is construction paper. It can be any type of paper. And I'm going to take the paper and I'm going to stick it along the edge of my foot. So I'm going to move this so you can see a little bit easier. So I'm going to bring this over here. So my paper is right along the edge of my foot. And instead of following a line, I'm going to follow the edge of this foot. Let me see if I can reposition my camera so you can see that.